You know, like, it's just like, you can almost do anything, like Aladdin, like the genie in Aladdin, like, you're the best friend. What is it? You ain't never had a friend like me. You know what I mean? Like, they're just pulling rabbits out of everything, not even hats. They're just like, you know how he did all the tricks, and he had all these different.
Welcome back to Launching Hut. This is a podcast where we talk about us becoming small business owners and the journey it takes to get there. This week we have a good friend of ours. He just walked in the house and saw my daughter, and I was like, Sophia, this is one of the first people that ever hold you as a baby. By far, other than family, you were one of the first people that ever walked into the house and hold my baby girl. And I was just like, he's a good friend. A really good friend.
And then she held me.
And then she held you. Our friend, Gabriel Prusmack, artist extraordinary, surfer, skater, husband, father.
I'm not your husband. I'm just kidding.
A great friend. And we have him on our podcast because I'm just so impressed by everything you do sometimes, like the Red Bull thing that just happened this weekend. I had the opportunity to work at the women's conference this year, and your art was on the stage. We drive into Galveston every day and I see your art, and it's just, I'm so impressed by what you've been able to accomplish in really a short time. Like, I know you put a lot of work into it, but you're only 34, right? 35?
Just turned 35, yeah.
Just turned 35. That's right. I was at your birthday party.
Best friend.
But like, you're only 35. You have so much more life ahead of you and so many more adventures that's going to come your way. And I'm just, before we even get anything started, I'm just super, super excited and proud to call you a friend and to call you someone that I get to work with occasionally. And so, but that's my intro. Introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself. Tell them what you do.
Thank you for the intro. My name is Gabriel. I mean, just like you said, I mean, I've known y'all forever. I mean, grown up together. I mean, shared some laughs, shared some cries, shared life. That's awesome. I appreciate that a lot. Painting forever. I don't know. My name's Gabriel. I can go back into that. I've just been painting for a long time. I talk to people all the time about artwork. People I don't even know come up to me and I'm like, I don't know who you are, but sometimes it's a good thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, sure. They're just excited to be around the artwork, and that's awesome because I feel like that when I get to see somebody that I admire and I'm like, man, I follow you, but they don't care. You know what I mean? They're like, they're obviously doing their thing, but they're excited about the moment, talking to people that are inspired about the artwork. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Just like me, I'm excited to talk to people that are inspired by the art. It changes lives. Artwork does change lives.
Yeah. It does.
In the best possible, in my vision, it's in the best possible way.
Yeah.
I think it helps. It's a therapy that we leave in grade school, honestly.
Yeah.
A lot of people leave it there and they only visualize it, which is still good, but it's still therapeutic doing it. Even if you think, oh, I can only do a stick figure.
Yeah.
And I talk to people that's the biggest line. Oh, I couldn't even draw a stick figure. And I'm just like, just do that. I bet you would be at peace.
Yeah.
You would have peace after a long, hard day. You just drawing stick figures. Remember you used to doodle when you talk on the phone, you know? Or maybe you still do.
I do.
Well, I'm talking about when we didn't have cell phones.
Yeah, you're talking
we
about
had landlines. We were stuck in the kitchen.
You were stuck at a table.
Oh, I'm going to draw all over the back of the yellow pages or something.
I remember
doodling.
That.
I see everybody do that.
Yellow pages.
I've seen everybody do that when I was little.
Is there still yellow pages?
I'm
I
sure.
have no idea. There probably is. If someone's out there, let us know.
Being used for the bird cage, I guess.
But I guess, I've always seen them like get delivered to houses, and I haven't seen that in a long time.
I wanted to ask you, because I know that you started, like the graffiti art when you were younger.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, how did you come out of doing it for the fun of it and then it turning into something else?
I think skateboarding had that influence on me. If I were to go before I started painting, I would follow like the big name brands, Volcom and all them, and I would just see all these punks, and it was kind of an influence because I skated and I got hurt and I didn't care, and I had holes in my pants and I was like, who cares, whatever, rock and roll.
Tony Alva.
Kind of a Tony Alva thing. No, Tony Alva was Hollywood. He was cool before he got popular. That's when he was good.
Yeah.
That's when he was more of a skater and more of a rock and roll star, I guess.
Yeah.
No, I started going to Los Angeles a lot because my brother lived there, and I skated all the time. So I skated to Venice Beach because he lived a mile or 2 miles from the beach.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd go there a lot, and that's where the pavilion used to be, where you could listen to music, and it was honestly just homeless people living there.
Yeah.
And there was graffiti everywhere. And then they tore it down. And the next year I came back and I saw people, they only had 2 walls left that they left there for people to do graffiti. And I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. That it's like it was more focused. I was like, oh, wow, people are right here and only right here.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just painting, and you could skate right there. And I just remember going up to them and just checking it out. Like, whoa, this is really cool. And then I worked with my brother, and we would go all over the city, LA, and install house alarms. And I would see some of those names everywhere. I'm like, whoa, this is really cool. It was like a secret society club, you know, Dead Poet Society. Yeah. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And so it was just intriguing to see one guy's name here, and then this guy's name's over here in the valley. And I'm like, what is this? Why is this?
Yeah.
I feel like this is a middle school, but they're all over the place, you know, just outside. I remember seeing Daniel's son's face from Karate Kid, and it was wheat pasted, where you take glue and paper and you just you put glue on there and then you put it on there. It's what billboards. That's how they used to do them. They still do posts. You see the posts on
like the digital signs
and all that.
Like the digital signs. That's
digital signs. There you go. Yeah, those billboards. But I remember seeing Daniel's son on the freeway, and I was like, that's cool.
Yeah.
What is this? And it was a stencil, and I was like, I got to do that. And then I saw this Tiki man. His name was Tiki J1. I think he's still a big graffiti artist in LA. And then I actually got to meet him. I went to Venice Beach at night, skating at night with my brothers. And I was like, oh, there he is. He had all these lights. He had lights like this out. And he was like covering those 2 walls at Venice Beach, covering them with only his Tiki Man head. And I was like, this is cool. What is this? And that was like culture hitting me in the face.
Yeah.
Like more explained. You know, I was sure I was skating. I loved everything about skateboarding and surfing and art in some aspect. I was kind of just a sketch. I would sketch all the time, whatever. But that was like, whoa, that's culture right there.
Yeah.
Like, it's in your face, and it's nasty, and it's on the sand, and it's grimy. And this guy's probably going to be here for another 5 hours doing this, 3 or 4 hours doing this. And is like, that's this guy. Like, now when I think of it, I'm like, that's craftsmanship right there at its fullest. This guy's probably been doing this for years.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here first moment, like,
Yeah.
whoa, this is an impact. It's like looking at a wave come at you, like, oh my gosh, here it comes.
That's crazy.
And then it crashes on you and it settles. And then you're trying to figure out where the next wave is coming, and then you create that wave.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Dang, that's good.
So
it's crazy that you saw something that I would imagine at the time everyone just saw as like trash art. Like, oh, you're just putting that on my stuff. You're ruining my building. And you saw it as what it was. Pure art, culture jumping at you. And I think it was the subject matter that jumped out at me too. I didn't mention that the Tiki Man was like a 3-dimensional 1-layer stencil that just was, you see it and you're like, whoa, that's just a black stencil. Wow. That it looks dimensional. It's like coming at you, you know?
Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy. But I think like for me at least, you kind of like almost brought that into the Galveston community. Not that you brought graffiti art, because we've always had graffiti, but you brought it to a point where like people hang your stuff up in their house. They're asking you to paint on their walls. Sure. Like they're paying you to do this.
Sure.
And now you've taken something that was considered not really a high-end art, but in this area, they look at it as, man, that's Gabe's work. Like that's his craftsmanship. And I think that's so cool that you've been able to do something as a kid, getting into it. But now you have it as a business. It's a way of life for you. Your painting isn't just for you to like what's the word I'm looking for? Like for your art to come out, like for your creativity to come out, like it's an actual way for you like to actually provide for your family, provide for the life that you have. Like I think you've been able to do something really cool with a spray can. Like I mean, not everyone's very fortunate to do that, you know?
Yeah, it's different.
And so like it's like someone who makes breakfast burritos. For majority of people, you grab it and go, it's like, oh, that's great. But for some people, they're like, this is your art.
Yeah.
This is what you're able to do with tortilla, rice, and beans, and now you've fed us.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah, I do appreciate that. Bronco burrito. Yeah, we appreciate
You
it.
know what
thank
though?
you.
Bronco burritos are not a very big thing like outside of this community.
I know,
It's usually
which is
just
so
tacos.
sad.
It is usually
Yeah.
tacos. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Galveston or Broncos
It, like,
made
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Made
Yeah,
it a
down
thing in
here.
Galveston, you know? Like
It'd be very interesting to see if
another
Galveston kind of
pioneer.
like really pioneered that as like a good thing. Cause now like you can go to any Mexican restaurant and get a breakfast
a
burrito.
surprise or a
Or a
breakfast.
surprise or
I want a Bronco burrito.
yeah. Or a
I'm just
Bronco.
gonna advertise, endorse right now. No, I'm just kidding.
I said that. I said that multiple times at
Sponsor
places.
this at podcast Broncos.
Yeah, I've said that multiple times at places. Let me get a surprise because that's where I've learned it as. And they're like, "You mean a Bronco?" I was like, "Nah, I mean a surprise." That's what it's been called all my whole life. But that's enough about burritos. But like, I just find it so interesting that you've been able to do that. And like, how was that transition for you though? Like, how was that transition from like you making art pieces, you doing random stuff, and now like someone's hiring you? How do you remember your first like commission?
Transition?
Like, yeah, because you used to do it just for fun, but like, or for like random art.
It wasn't
stuff.
really a transition when it started. It just was like, it was just somebody liked what I was doing, and it was a real close friend. And I thought I was excited about this painting, and he was just as excited. And I was like, whoa, you like this? I wasn't trying to sell it to him in a way of, hey, you better like this. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I wasn't presenting it like it's a competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never am. I was just excited. Wow, look what I've gotten to. This is the next step for me.
Yeah.
Like I just developed this
Yeah.
over the past couple years, and I'm showing people. I mean, whoever came over to my house, I was out on my porch in my parents' apartment.
This is like MySpace time.
This is a long time ago. This is before
MySpace.
Yeah, this was when nothing was out. This was
So no social media for you to
when I
kind
was
of show
15.
your art.
There wasn't anything
there
social.
wasn't.
It was AOL. It was emails. Seriously,
You know what?
it was emailing. I remember
emails?
texting, and I was like, "What is this?" And I had to email a text, and I was like, "This is weird. Why are people sending me messages right now?"
I remember that. That was just a weird transition. That was a weird transition.
How weird that was to me. I was like,
I remember the first week I got text messages on my phone, and I used all 20 in one day.
Oh, you had a limited.
Yeah, we had a limited. And my mom was like, "What is this bill?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
So funny.
The funny thing is that I still have my AOL account that I had since
She's
I was
still very committed to
I still have
AOL.
my same email, and I use it regularly. Like it's my actual email. When
Really?
I started when I was 13, I was like, "Oh, I need to make an email." People want to talk to me over the emails, over the internet.
My
I was
Yahoo.
like, people can talk
Yeah.
to you over the internet? That's
I have
cool.
a Yahoo one, and it's literally junk for junk mail.
Yes.
I use it whenever I like, "What's your email?" And I was like, "This
Just
is
to
it."
get a free 10%
just to get a
off.
free 10% off or something. Yeah.
But I think the first time I ever like realized, whoa, there's like, that's cool that you can make a profit. My friend, I had done this painting where there was a guy pointing, it was a soldier. It was when I started doing stencils. I started doing stencils before I did murals and all that.
Really?
Yeah, because stencils, that Tiki Man that I was
so fascinated by,
all inspired by, on the way home from California, I like made that Tiki Man, a stencil of it. And I was like, I can't wait to spray this. And I was like almost 15. I was like, "Oh, Mom, can you buy me some spray paint?" She bought me spray paint, and I was just spraying it on everything. It was like the most punk rock thing ever. Like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna spray this on everybody's
I think
skateboard."
it's been long enough. But were you the one that was spray painting the things around town?
Probably, yeah.
With like the
Maybe.
faces?
Oh yeah, probably so.
Yeah, I know you did.
Most likely. I
Because
love
there
painting.
was one right
If it was
next to my house.
if it was a very distinct and like, sharp line,
it was
then
red.
it was probably mine.
I'll never forget. It was red and orange.
Yeah.
It was like right on the
I
box
painted all
outside
kind
my
of-
house, and I was like, "Who painted that box?" My
Uh,
dad's
one of the
gonna get
haters.
So mad.
one of the haters right here. That was in high school. Yeah, I used to do all kind of graffiti vandalism, and that was crazy.
Would you encourage
yeah,
that for people? Like not in the sense of vandalizing, but in the sense of like to find your way.
It's hard to say no to that.
Yeah,
because that's how I found my way. There was no other outlet for me.
Yeah.
Other than, okay, the whole point of this is illegal. That was in my head.
Yeah.
This is how I have to do it. And I got to plan my ninja skills to get there at night and do this and paint. And then, you know what I mean? Like that, people ask me and I'm like, they're like, oh, how'd that guy paint on that highway? And I'm like, I know exactly how they did that. You just don't want to know about it.
Yeah.
You'd probably be like, wow, all that just to paint. I'm like, yeah. Look what you do just to go have a good vacation or a good adventure on the weekend.
Oh, that's good.
You know what I mean? Like it's the same motivation. It's just a different style of play.
Yeah.
A different style of fun, a different hobby, a different passion, a different sport.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like think of a golfer. I mean, they buy every possible thing and they got their name on it.
Yeah.
And people are like, why do you do all that?
Yeah.
They love it.
Yeah.
People love doing what they do.
What's crazy is the way you said it. Like you had to put your ninja skills on to spray paint it. And it probably took you not much time at all because you didn't want to get caught to spray paint it. But the amount of work you spent on planning it, on doing the stenciling.
Planning it, for sure.
I hated. I
remember.
We tried getting into stencil work after like meeting you. I was like, this is so cool. I want to get into it. And I did like 2 stencils and I was like, I don't ever want to do this again. Like the stencil work.
That's the part you have to get through.
The stencil part is such a hard part to do.
Yeah.
And so I would do the most basic level of stencil work just to get it done. And it just wasn't my thing. But like, to me, that's what we talk about like in photography world. It takes like a millisecond. I can snap a photo in a millisecond. It doesn't take that much time at all. It's the time before that. It's the time after that.
Process.
Like the process matters so much. And I think that's something that you've done so well is that you put a lot of time in your process, a lot of time in your craft, and you really don't mind making something and like leaving it there. Like I think I came by your house once and there was just random art piece that was just like right there. You like, yeah, you want it? Like I don't really want it.
I think if you do something so long, you kind of you don't lose feeling towards it. You just know what you're capable of. Yeah. And you know, okay, this is just what I've been doing regularly all the time. So, and it's not like a pompous thing or anything. It's just, this is what I'm constantly doing. It's like dribbling a basketball. It's going to be there constantly. It's always there. I'm going to dribble this basketball. Michael Jordan, you know?
Yeah.
He wasn't afraid to go practice because he loved it. Yeah. And he's like, oh, that basketball court's going to be there. I'm going to go there every day.
Yeah.
So if somebody's like, oh, there's one over here. Okay, we're going to leave that basketball court. Let's go over here. Yeah. So it's kind of the momentum is still there. Yeah. You know, it's like, yeah, that painting that was like, okay, whatever, you can take it. It's just, it's something not disposable, but you've reached that point right there that you're staying right there. You can't you can't undevelop and into that painting. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm over talking about this.
No, but it's good.
You can't undevelop on that painting. Like I think of artwork like you're a mad scientist. So it's like you're constantly doing experiment. If you're not doing experiments, you're sitting stagnant. You're probably not painting. You're probably just being lazy.
Yeah.
Well, I remember.
You know what I mean?
I love that because we talk about that in business as well. It's like once you hit a point and you're doing it constantly, you kind of lose the flavor of it, right?
Sure.
And so then the whole thing is to continue to grow in your business, continue to expand, try new things.
Expand. That's a good thing.
And so that's one of the things that I love about what you're saying, because really it's about continuing to grow.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And as an artist, you want to continue to grow and have different series.
You have to.
Yeah.
I heard, who was it? What's the guy's name? He's an actor. No, I can't remember
The Rock.
his name.
Kevin Hart.
Not Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy.
I heard Eddie Murphy say on, and this is a long time ago,
Arsenio Hall.
Arsenio Hall show. This is an old video. I used to watch Arsenio Hall.
Arsenio Hall.
I remember this as a kid. He said, if you don't get
Arsenio
away
Hall,
from,
if you watch this,
he said, if you don't get away from what you love to do, sometimes it's good to have other areas that you get away from, so that you can be fresh every time you come back. And I'm like, wow, that's awesome, because I have a lot of hobbies outside of artwork. And it's great to go and like just completely forget about what you're doing. And it's like a stress reliever from your norm, you know? It becomes the norm, and then you have to venture away from it.
It's why people,
for a little bit.
It's why people who work a 9-to-5 job love the weekend.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's the perfect way of putting it.
They love the weekend because it's out of their regular waking up early, the regular job. That's why they love the weekend. I find that very disappointing, because it's just to do all the work for the weekend and not love what you do Monday through Friday. I think that's the difference between like a small business owner or someone like you that who takes their art as a business. Is Monday through, if you would consider your art time as Monday through Friday, you love that time.
Sure.
You love being creative. You love being with new stuff. You love developing different things. And then your weekend is you skating, you going surfing, you going camping with your wife. Like you guys doing things like that to make that like rebirth of, and then like ideas. I don't know if this happens to you, but when I'm on vacation, I get ideas like crazy on different things. You're like, I would love to do this. I would love to do that. And I like have
when
to
you're
get
on vacation.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Like for some reason, like just ideas starts running through my head, or if we go on like long drives, I'm like thinking, I'm like, oh,
that's good. Really cool. That's exactly the point.
100%.
Like when I'm doing what I love, I obviously do the things. The way I paint is from one aspect. From my hobbies like surfing and skateboarding. Obviously from skateboarding, I was drawn to something that transformed the way I live now, doing artwork. So when I get into surfing, it's almost like I can take nature's flow and put it into my work and utilize it. That sounds kind of silly, or
but if you see your
kind
artwork,
of organic or weird, or I don't know.
But if you see your artwork, you could tell.
Yeah.
There is a flow within your art pieces, especially your big pieces, because you're able to do that. There is a huge flow in that. And I think that's real admirable that you're able to take, or creative enough, or whatever the right word is, to message me if you know what the right word is.
But to the point of not traditionally flowing, you know, it's more of an abstract thing for me. I've always been into abstract, and that's kind of what my work has become more in the past like 5-6 years, honestly. So it's almost like I'm constantly interpreting something into my work with some type of subject matter as well. But those hobbies really do influence. They really do. And the funny thing is, I do a lot of hobbies that I'm not that good at. I might be good at maybe one or two of those, but the other hobbies I stink at. I'm the worst. I play golf, I play tennis, and I'm not that great at those. But it's so fun to do them because there's these tiny little points in those different hobbies that you realize, oh, that's how you do it. Like you're discovering something else. You're pinpointing something else in those other hobbies that like spark you back in your drawing board. I don't know why that is, but
it's funny you say that, because like with golf, I mean, obviously I think everyone has gone to Top Golf at least once, or I've tried Top Golf or some type of thing like that. I remember one of the few times I've gone, I was trying to murder that ball. Like I wanted to hit it to the back. And then one time I just relaxed and I just did a simple swing and it went flying. And I was like, I don't have to try that hard. Like it's as long as you have
small victories.
Yes.
That's what I'm looking for in some of these things that you have to like learn, not midlife, but you know, you're not young anymore. When you were younger, it seemed like, oh, one day I'll be better at this. And then you got better at it. And you're now you're at your age now. And you're like, okay, now I'm going to start something new. Like you think, man, I should have did this 20 years ago. I would have been better now. But it's great to start something new. Because it just like totally refreshes your like, just
you get a new perspective on stuff.
Honestly.
You get a new perspective on stuff for sure.
It really does. The new perspectives are awesome. I think it's amazing to start trying something new.
Yeah.
And that's like, for a lot of people, like, oh, I don't have time.
Yeah.
I've told friends, if you want to learn something new, you can take 5-10 minutes out of your day
Yeah.
to just try something out,
Yeah.
like maybe probably not going to play golf. That doesn't take 5-10 minutes, but
going back to like your experience as a young graffiti artist, do you think that it's easier or more accessible to this generation to do graffiti art?
it's way more accessible. The material is expanded. It's gotten better. It's,
So you're not using Sherwin-Williams spray paint?
No, they're not even a
You're not
brand.
doing- you're not doing great
They've
value?
never had paint. Actually, they've never had spray paint, but you figure, honestly, you could still use the same stuff that I was using 15 years ago, and you'd be doing the same thing with even the better product, because it's your lack of experience.
Yeah.
I remember reading this one article about Eddie Van Halen and his guitar, and he handed it over to somebody that he knew that was professional, and the guy didn't sound like Eddie Van Halen when he played his guitar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody's got their different way of grabbing some type of material and using it, like a spray can. I've handed my cans to plenty of people. It's just the experience that you've used. You've literally have sweat, tears, and blood into that experience.
Yeah.
And everybody does. And anything they've gotten a little bit good or a lot good or professional at, they're going to do it the way they've done it when they started. So it's going to be different for every single person,
Yeah.
I think it's still available. I mean, nowadays you have a lot more outlets, so it's a good thing now.
Yeah.
It's almost, if I started now, I would be overwhelmed. It would be like in college, I learned how to use color, and that was overwhelming to me.
Yeah.
Because I was like, there's so many things I can do. This is too much. I hate this.
Yeah.
And I only used black and white for the longest time.
Yeah.
So now that I think of that question, is it accessible to people now? It's overly accessible. There's too much. So pick one thing and get really good at that one thing and start adding things to it. That's kind of the advice.
Yeah.
Because there's so much.
I love that you said that you can hang your spray paint, because I've seen you do a lot of the like events with kids or what's the reading program that you just did a whole bus for them.
At Ball High.
Yeah. You did a whole bus for the reading. I can't think of the
School bus.
organization, but the school bus here in town. And you got to do a lot of stuff. You do a lot of stuff for the community, within the community, like things like that, spray paint, things like that. I think that's just a really cool thing that you get to do. And that's honestly one of the things that I really do admire about you, is that you network so well. Like I'm stumbling my words because I'm trying to figure this out as I go, and I would cut this out so I sound better. But I remember I was hanging out somewhere. I was at an art walk. I was hanging out with somebody, and someone told my wife, like, dang, Juan knows a lot of people. And I was like, yeah, not really. Like, I just
He's talking to everybody.
I just talk to a lot of people. If I see someone I might know, I say hi to them, because networking is so huge for me, because I'm a new company. So I try to network, and I try to like talk to people all the time about what I do. And that's one thing that I really do admire about you, is that you take your time to really network with people. If you're doing an art walk show and you're spray painting live, you stop, take photos, you do a lot of stuff.
What was that?
Like, you do a lot of stuff.
I'm doing, folks.
Yeah. So just do it. But not only that, like, your whole persona, like you wear the pink suit, you wear the goggles, like a lot
I'm
of
a kid. That's why.
Exactly.
That's what kids do. That's what I advertise is be a kid.
And that's what I
being an
love.
adult. Be free.
Kind of.
Kids talk to anybody.
Yeah.
And everyone. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But as an adult,
strangers danger.
you're responsibly responsible, so you can be a kid,
Yeah.
Sure, you're not going to talk to everybody going down an alley, dark alley at night. Maybe you will. Who knows?
If that's you.
If you're confident, you know what I mean? Like, that might be the case. That's okay. I've done that actually before.
I have to.
But I'm talking about, like, kids probably shouldn't be doing that.
Kids.
No,
if any kids watch this, don't do
I'll
that.
like cut through one of the alleys downtown, and I'm like, hey, how are you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
She's trying to make friendly conversations so she can run faster. But like, tell me a little about that. Like, what made that click of like, hey, I really have to network? Or has that always been something that you just spin?
I think that's just a personal thing, and spiritually, God gave me confidence in talking to people through experiences with being in a big family with my brothers, and sure, everybody seems like they're my older brother. Every guy that I ever talked to is like, oh, this guy's not even that much older than my brother. I relate, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like I can just kick back and talk to them. I don't even know the person, you know, just because of their what's the word? Their
way of being,
presence. Yeah. You know, I have a lot of siblings, so they all have different types of presences and demeanor and the way they talk. And so it's like, there's only like 7 different demeanors in people or something. You know what I mean? Like,
so you can correlate,
why this guy is talking like this. Oh, well, he's probably
kind of like so-and-so.
Had too many bad experiences or something, or maybe he hasn't enough. Or, you know what I mean? Like, there's just easy accountances to talk to. And when people are smiling, that's already easy to talk to somebody. Because my mom smiles all the time, or my sister smiles all the time. And I'm like, oh, this is a party right here. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so it's easy to talk to people. And then, I don't know. I love people. I just like being around people all my life. So, and all my life, it's like, I want everybody to come hang out. I mean, you've been to my birthday parties. Everybody show up. I probably won't talk to you that long, but
waiter, come and sit down.
We'll all hang out, you know? And that's just my personality, I guess. But a lot of confidence. I've had no confidence and still talk to people. And I'm like, I'm miserable, man. I don't even know the person. I'm miserable. I'm having a bad day right now. And they're like, man, I've been there before. They're like reverse me or something. You know what I mean? Like, it just happens. I've been there before, you know?
Do you see a lot of success in what you're doing now based off of just that personality? Like, because you've been able to network and say hi to so many people?
No, not necessarily. I've learned how to present myself and have character. And being reliable is huge. That's something that, sure, people take for granted, but I see it as a strong value in character. Character is huge. I've learned that growing up for sure. Have character.
Yeah.
If you're gonna create business, have character. I've just learned that I don't know, watching people, listening to people, being on time places, being late to places, and suffering consequences through different experiences. I've been a lot of different shows and places that I didn't make any kind of business or friendship or anything. And I'm like, well, I don't know if I did that well. You know, I drove all the way to Corpus Christi. I didn't sell anything. I spent like $300 or $400. But I still did it for some reason, you know? Mainly because, sure, I want to get out there. I want to do something. That's an opportunity. Somebody asked me to be there, and they trusted that I would be there, and I'm there. And I learned that through Christ, because it's good to have that character. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. If you say yes, you said yes. If you shot yourself in the foot and you said yes, you shot yourself in the foot. Take the pain. You know, take that process. I've done that this year. I've done it plenty of times. And I'm like, why did I do that? You know, because I said yes. And I was like, oh, wait, I didn't get all the info. And you know what I mean? Like, there's just different things that, sure, I'm impulsive. That might be one of my character traits too. That might, you know, and like I said, sometimes I've been confident, sometimes I haven't been. And I'm like, sure, I'll do this job, and I don't want to do none of it, you know? Like, I don't feel like doing this.
I remember when you were painting the bridge coming into the island. If you guys seen the big pillars, that's his artwork. And you told me to come out, take some photos and some video, and I went out and I had the drone, and you were like, hey, I want to get on top. And I was like, are you sure? And you're like, I was like, I'll do it. Let's go. And I was like, but you got to be harnessed up, man. I just don't want you to fall. And you're like, no, I'm not going to do it with the harness. And I remember you going up there, and you're like, I'm gonna put the harness on. It was super windy.
It was so windy. I was like, I don't know about this.
So when you sound like you're an impulsive person, I can concur. You are. But there is wisdom that comes with that. Cause like I think if you were a lot younger, you would have been very stubborn and been like, no, I said I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go ahead and just do it with no harness. But that wisdom of you like, nah, I'm gonna put the harness on. But I feel like that's a a huge thing, like that character. That's something that I've learned years ago is like talent can only get you so far. It's your character that really keeps you there.
I think sometimes you learn stuff from the past that you didn't know you were learning that process. And I think for me, sometimes I learned skateboarding and I used to skate all the time.
Yeah.
And I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, man, I used to do tricks that I would fall so hard and still get back up and shake it off and still try the trick. And no one was paying me. No one was giving me sponsorships. No one was giving me nothing. I wanted to land the trick because I was like, I gotta do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I set out to do this, or I'd come back the next day. I'd take the bus back to the downtown and try it again.
Yeah.
And I'd land it or I'd succeed. And I'm like, I did it. I don't know why, but I just wanted to land. I wanted that feeling of rolling away from a skateboard trick. And sometimes those things go further in your life than you think with other things. Like I said, going outside of your craft and doing something else. It helps. So
I mean, hanging out.
Networking can be the same way. Like, oh man, I talked to this guy and he just didn't like anything I did. And well, I went to the next guy and they loved everything I did. So I guess there's a yes and a no to talking to people and networking with people. Yeah, I'm only going to get a no from that person. Hopefully I'll get a yes. There's a foot in the door just by talking to people. Not that that's the whole motive. You know what I mean? Like for when it comes to business, sure. But I came to this point where I was like, you know what? I don't even care.
Yeah.
And I thought about why does everything have to be so business oriented at these things?
Yeah.
Why can't I just give stuff away?
Yeah.
Obviously I got to make a living, but that's why I started giving out stickers to people.
Yeah.
Even if they didn't even talk to me, like, hey, here, be my friend. Like,
be free.
Be free. You know, like that's what kids. That's what kids do, though.
Yeah.
And that's where I kind of relearned how to be back in my old state of being a kid because it's more fun.
Yeah.
And it's less gloomy.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, I better make a quota.
And
that business mindset. And I kept seeing that. And I kept seeing that. And this was me growing in my business on the side. Because I had a regular job, but on the side I was like, ooh, I gotta grow and I gotta do this and I started getting real business oriented. And then I just told myself, shut up. This is dumb. Like, what are you, an artist or are you a businessman? Like, what are you? You know, and I was like, I'm an artist. I'm not a businessman. I want to give things away. Sure, maybe that wasn't the greatest idea, but who cares?
But the thing
who's the one scaling it? You know, you are. You're the one creating the bar. So
I think
it's the right way.
You're giving away things, but like with I want to say in wisdom, but it could be just out of pure luck sometimes, but you're giving things away that are leading to bigger things, or you're giving things away.
That's funny that you say that because I also learned that in the Proverbs, it says a gift to a king can open up doors. I might have given gifts to kings or queens.
That's what I'm saying. Like you've done things like that. That just shows like when I think if anyone ever hangs out with you, like they could tell Gabe's a fun person. Like this guy is a really good like he's a fun person. And
take that.
And I've learned that with I've learned that in just what I do. Like people that work with me have said, I like who you are.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's more obviously your art can show, my work can show, your art shows. But if you're not fun to work with or be around, no one's going to really want to hire you or be, especially if you're a small business owner, no one's going to want to be with you. You know, and I think that's such a good.
It's all about the attitude.
It's all about your personality and your character. Yeah. 100%.
You know what's funny is I've met a lot of artists that are terribly boring to be around. And I'm just like,
Banksy.
They're boring. And then I've met a lot of artists.
Banksy's boring.
I've met a lot of artists. I've met a lot of people. I call people artists. Y'all are artists. You know, that's what I'm talking about. I've met a lot of people that are, oh, wow, that person's not really fun to be around. And then I'll go to the next person. I'm like, wow, this person's fun to be around. Their countenance. They're just doing whatever they want. Like when they walk away, I want to see what the rest of their day's like. In my head, that's I've seen movies like that where I'm like, wow, why don't they make a movie of that guy that got away and got out of that area? he was fun. It was a cartoon, you know?
Yeah.
That's how cartoons are. Like, wow, how's Daffy Duck doing right now? You know?
The Goofy movie.
Or Goofy. How's Goofy?
He went off to college.
I think people like cartoons sometimes, though. They're just cartoons.
Yeah.
You know, I've literally called them cartoons. You're a cartoon. You know, like, it's just like you can almost do anything. Like Aladdin, like the genie in Aladdin. Like, you're the best friend. What is it? You ain't never had a friend like me. You know what I mean? Like, they're just pulling rabbits out of everything, not even hats. They're just like, you know how he did all the tricks. And he had all these different giant scenes in the original Aladdin movie. Yeah. That's fun. Like, that was a kid that came up with that. Yeah. That was a blast. Like, a kid had to think of that. Yeah. And obviously it wasn't an actual kid. It was a kid that a mature person developed and imagined.
Who Walt Disney was. He was a kid at heart, regardless whatever he was.
So it's like, those are different things that those pioneers are something I grew up with, and we all grew up with, and you just kind of you steer in those directions. You just take things from different things, and different people, and different movies, and different actions and adventures that you've been on, and it's almost like you're putting it into one big piece, like one big bubble gum under the table. You're just like, whoa, look at this thing. You know, like it's got everything on it, and that's how I think our characters should become. We should be grabbing things at work, not at the weekend, or we should be putting things at work that are goofy. Go put a Post-it on somebody's thing that says, hey, go to the restroom or something. I
love
something stupid.
At almost every job I've ever had, I've always pranked people.
Pranking,
it makes me, I mean, I don't do anything dangerous, but I love pranking people. It brings a little laughter to my day. Yeah. And I don't care if they don't laugh.
It's funny, yeah. He's laughing about it. We don't even know what prank is.
I know, but one of the things that I really love that you've done this year was your art piece at Lolo Kai.
Oh, thank you.
I went to eat there last week with somebody.
Me.
My wife.
Me.
I forgot. And I saw the banana piece in the corner. And if you haven't gone, you really should. It's a great piece.
And Lolo Kai's is amazing. I love their food.
But I saw it and it reminded me of your art show that you had, and I didn't even know you were sponsored by Topo Chico, and I was like, what the heck? This guy's like can do anything. Like, I literally thought that in my head. I was like, this guy can really do anything. Like, how is he not doing it? And then that art piece was like, honestly, the most unique piece I've seen you make in a very long time.
Oh, cool.
Because it was like very constructive, but like with your piece. Like, it was still, you can look at it and be like, that's Gabe. But it was like very constructive. And I love when you said,
like almost like a
don't ruin it. They'll go watch it. It
was a sculpture, so that piece, I had been meaning to. I had been thinking about that painting, or not that painting, that sculpture, the metal sculpture. I've been thinking about doing a metal sculpture for years, and I just hadn't had. I finally got to it this year, and I was like, I want to do a sculpture. I need to get out of my realm of painting, and I want to do something that I used to in high school. I did welding 1 and 2, and I had the art teacher convince the welding teacher to let Gabriel do this sculpture. He's an artist. He wants to do a sculpture. And the welding teacher was so mad.
Really?
He was like, okay, I'll let him do it. And he loved it. He loved the sculpture that I did.
When you were in high school?
Cool.
When I was in high school in the second year of welding, he loved the sculpture.
They had welding at Ball?
Yeah, 1 and 2. And the guy was mean as dirt. He was mean. He was so mean. The welding teacher, he was just really mean. I don't know why. And it was just a funny thing that when I did that sculpture, it was a rose. Rose. And I did the rose, and I put my heart into it too. And it took about 6 weeks to do. I mean, I was only in there for about an hour and a half every other day.
Yeah.
And so it took a while. And I remember spray painting it and lighting it up and burning it and just seeing things that I had seen on Reading Rainbow one time. And I thought, I want to try that. You know what I mean? Like,
what episode were you watching? They were putting things on fire.
They were making sculptures. The guy was lighting these wood sculptures. And I was like,
I've only watched
that's cool.
Reading Rainbow was bomb, man.
Reading Rainbow was great.
Yeah.
I remember the teacher was so excited. He was like, wow, I can't believe you created this. I doubted you so much.
Wow.
He opened up art to people. And I was just like, I don't want a barbecue pit. I'm 18. I don't care about barbecuing. I just didn't. Now this was my thing.
Yeah.
And then, sure. 14, 15 years later, I guess. I don't know how long it's been since high school.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do a sculpture, and I had a friend, Evan, that he was like, yeah, I'll help you do it. I'll help you figure it out. And he really helped me. He taught me a lot on, I was like, man, I'm soaking up everything that you're going to teach me, because I forgot all this welding stuff. I remember, and he was such a good teacher. Like, he was amazing. He's an artist in Galveston.
So how'd you get to do that? Like, sponsored by Topo Chico? Like, what got you into that?
I just asked Topo Chico. I literally asked them, but I knew who was the actual rep, and they had already been like, through friendships, they knew I liked it so much because I was already advertising it. I wasn't even getting it. I wasn't even getting any Topo Chico, and they were already. One of my friends was friends with the rep, and they were like, "Hey, Gabriel loves Topo Chico. Give him some Topo Chico." And she told me, and I was like, "Oh, cool, right on." And just became friends with them, and they said, "Hey, if you have some events, just let us know." And I was like, cool.
That's cool, because I remember I talked to you about that earlier, maybe like a month ago or so, and I was like, man, I want sponsorships, like, for this podcast. I want
talking to people,
and you were just like, dude, just tell people, just ask them. And for me, like, that seems such like a scary thing to do, but you're right. Like, a kid would just like, hey, can I have some candy? Yeah, like, they just come out and say it.
Seriously,
and for the most time, they get it.
For the longest time, though, I would ask people all the time for sponsorships. I mean, growing up skateboarding and surfing, I remember people telling me the next generation above me, I was like, man, how do you get sponsored? How do you do that? I'm sort of good. I'm good enough to get sponsored, I thought. Yeah. And the guys were like, man, you're good. Don't even worry about that stuff. That stuff causes stress trying to get that. And when he told me that, I remember the guy told me that, Nate Broussard. He's a good skater in Houston. And he said, don't even worry about it. Just have fun skateboarding. I was like, that was like the biggest, probably the best advice, relief. Yeah. And I looked up to him because he was really good, and he was turning pro and all this other stuff in Houston. I was like, wow, I don't need to worry about none of this stuff. He said, just skate and have fun and keep doing what you're doing and love it as much as you possibly can, and surfing and all that. And slowly but surely, people were like, hey, I'm gonna give you this, and give you, what size shorts do you wear? I'm gonna give you some shorts and shirts, and here's some hats. And just even by asking too, just kind of, sure, I'd see people asking, oh, how did you get sponsored? Oh, I just asked them. I'm like, can I have their number? I'm going to call them tomorrow. You know what I mean? Just kind of talking to them. I mean, that's the whole, the 90s and early 2000s was like the sponsor me skateboard video thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that was like huge. And now it's like the influencer thing. Yeah. So it's like,
there's that movie Grind. It was all about just trying to make it.
I saw that about a month ago too. I watched it again.
Yeah. I think I watched like 2-3 months ago, and I was like, all they trying to do is like get like known and join a team and get sponsored. It's like,
and then what? That's the thing.
Yeah, and that's what I
understand
in my head at the end of this movie. I was like, so what happens now?
Exactly. That's the point. Is enjoying the process. That's huge.
Yeah,
that is giant. You never know what's going to happen. Yeah. I've been to art shows, like I was saying. I went down to Corpus, and I've been to Austin, and I've been to Houston, and art shows that I just handed out business cards the whole time. And I was just like, man, nobody bought anything. I barely talked to anybody and barely had a conversation. But years later, they called me out of the blue, and they're like, hey, I got your card from an art show. I remember your art, and I remember you handing me that, and I want some artwork now. And I'm like, whoa. Yeah. Years later, I'm like, whoa, that was weird. Yeah. I was there for some type of contact, Yeah. As far as if you're going to go on the business side of it, wow, I was there. I was just your presence in places, being available in places, sure, places you want to be too. Yeah. It helps. It helps to not just do only your thing, but actually being supportive of artists or supportive of somebody's event or supportive of somebody's, you know what I mean? Somebody's show, not just yourself. It's selfless things constantly as well. Yeah. That helps. That's networking still. Yeah. If you want to look at it at a book point, that's still networking. Yeah. You're going and you're being there with people.
So I had a question. What would you say is the biggest lesson you've learned in the midst of in the last 15, 16 years since point A of graffiti art to now? What would you say is the biggest thing that you've learned?
That's a pretty wide question right there. That's a broad question. I've learned a lot of different things. I think the biggest thing when it comes down to it is just keep being a kid. That's probably the biggest thing that I'm just going to play today, because when I play, I don't stress out. I get more things done as a kid in my mentality. I really do.
Yeah.
I'm like I was saying, I'm irresponsibly responsible. There are sometimes, I'm my own boss. Sure. I might be at a project for like 3 hours and I know so-and-so is over here skateboarding. I'm gonna go skate over there with them for like 20 minutes and I'll come back. Just like take rabbit trails.
Yeah.
That's a great thing. There's nothing wrong with rabbit trails.
Yeah.
Because as an adult, I hate that big word.
Adult.
I mean, even anybody can do that in their own bubble, if you were to say so. And I hate using that word bubble.
Well,
but
no, I completely agree because
I just said bubble, but
so like, for example, I'll like on Saturday, I was working on a couple things. I was studying and then I stopped. I gardened a little bit. I came back inside.
Yeah.
I kept going. I went back outside. I repotted a plant. I came back.
You did different things.
Yeah.
And that's great.
Yeah. And it was great because I kind of like was distracting myself gardening, and then I came back inside and I was like, as I was gardening, I was remembering all the other things that needed to be done, and I would come back in. So I completely agree.
That's a great thing.
Yeah, it's a great thing. What's one thing you would tell any young person about wanting to go into graffiti art?
Or any type of art
or any type of art as a path.
As a professional path or just any path?
No, as a professional path.
I would say find experienced artists and just try to assist them. Try to find some type of mentor that you can really befriend. To get more experience from. That's one thing. There's so many things. I would say go to a business class in college. Learn how to do business. Learn how to market.
Yeah.
I didn't do any of that stuff. I learned the street way.
Yeah.
And just slowly helped.
Yeah.
But I would say go and find someone that you can learn that has been doing something for years, that they're going to pass the torch to you, or you're going to go to another person and learn from them. I remember one time that gives me a story. I remember one time I went to Miami and at Art Basel, and this was the second time I went with a big art dealer in Houston. He said, "Hey, I got a bunch of artists. You want to come? There's one seat available if you can make it there. I got all the paint. I got a wall for you to paint," and I did it. And I was set to go, and I saw on my social media that there was all these artists that I look up to. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want to meet them. And I saw their process and their stories, and I'm like, oh, they're building. So I messaged them. I said, hey, can I come help you? Do you need help doing anything? And I said, for free. I just want to hang out with y'all and help y'all. And there were the Low Bros from Germany. They're big time artists worldwide. And I got to go to I got to go and hang out with them. And they were like, hey, what can you do? And I'm like, well, I'm a graffiti artist. I've been doing it this much. And he's like, here, I need you to paint this. I need you to cut this. And I was so excited to just be able to do whatever they told me. I did not care. I didn't care if they were paying me. I wanted to see what they were doing. I wanted to see how they did everything. And they were so organized. I was like, wow, this gives me a huge perspective on this worldwide vision of how they work. It was great to see that. And I'm like, I would still do that again with another artist. I don't mind doing that ever. That's fun because you learn people's craft and you learn it to the T. If you're going to soak it in, you're going to soak it in. Just like I say, if there's somebody else, like you said, if they're looking for advice, man, soak up that experience. That's so important. It's easy. You ask somebody. Can I be your assistant?
With that, we're going to end this episode. Gabe, honestly,
we can talk for hours.
We can definitely talk for hours. But I want to be respectful of the time. Sure. I know it's a weekday night. But honestly, from the bottom of my heart, man, thank you so much for being a guest, but more importantly, a friend to us. I really do admire your work. And I think
Likewise.
If you have not gone to any of his art shows or anything on the art walk,
So
go
much
say
fun.
hi to him. Tell him I saw you on Instagram, whatever, and he'll talk to you for like 15 minutes probably. But he's just an
Probably have
amazing
a sticker
friend,
for
and I'm
you.
so happy for like the knowledge. I hope someone's watching this is inspired or
Right
want to
on.
take up a paint can or just doodle. Start doodling again,
Doodle.
guys.
Be free.
Be that kid wonder mentality and don't be
Yeah.
afraid to take chances. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that like button, that subscribe button, all the good things that YouTube likes for you to do. And thank you so much. Have a good one.